Hey Tommy, we bring to you some hot news right from the internet, and that is, of course, the quickest accelerating car, production car ever. And I'm, of course, talking about the new Tesla Model S Plaid. Just got unveiled.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about those claims, Dad, but we'll talk about that in this video, and we're also going to compare it to the Porsche Taycan and the upcoming Lucid.
Yeah, so we'll see which of these three electric cars is, well, the new king of the hill. So Elon Musk came out and said that this car is not only quicker than any sports car ever made, and I'm talking about cars like the Bugatti Chiron, I'm talking about, the craziest production cars that cost millions of dollars, but it will actually break the 2-second barrier, Tommy, the 2-second barrier from 0 to 60. In other words, 1.99 from 0 to 60. Of course, this is all according to Tesla.
Right, so let's talk about some of the details. Now, they revealed this at Tesla's Fremont factory last night. It was delivery day for a bunch of excited new customers. Talk about the motor setup.
Yeah, there's 3 motors. It's a triple motor setup with over 1,000 horsepower or 1,020 peak horsepower. And according to Tesla, it can sustain that much longer than any of the performance versions of the Model S. Now, keep in mind, of course, the Model S was the second Tesla unveiled, almost 9 years ago now, after the Roadster, and there were different variations of it, and of course this is the quickest, the fastest as well, dude, because it'll do 200 miles an hour.
Well, okay, it won't do 200 miles an hour. If you actually look at the fine print on the Tesla website, the indicated Plaid top speed requires proper wheels and tires, which will be available in fall of 2021. So it requires optional equipment that you can't even buy yet.
All right, it's also the quickest quarter-mile car ever. Tesla says a quarter mile in 9.23 seconds, beating the previous king, the Demon, by almost a half a second, the Dodge Demon.
Right, although, once again, from our experience, you got to be pretty careful with 0 to 60s and quarter-mile times on Teslas because oftentimes they're a little bit optimistic.
Yeah, like I said, no one, as far as I know, has independently tested those numbers. I think Jay Leno actually, did that run, or at least was around. But I'm talking about anybody who's kind of outside of the Tesla sphere, who's a journalist.
So here's ultimately why I'm a little disappointed.
Okay, why?
Because a while back, Tesla had promised the Plaid and the Plaid Plus.
Okay.
There were going to be 2 versions, which were both going to be insane.
Right.
And they said the top dog version was going to go 200 miles an hour.
Which this one does, with special equipment.
It was going to have the brand new battery cells.
Yeah, which it does.
It does not.
It's a new battery layout.
It does, but it does not have the new cells that they've been promising. It also was supposed to do the quarter mile in under 9 seconds.
Okay.
And it was supposed to, do the 0 to 60 in under 2.
Well, maybe that's a question of, over promising and underperforming. But even underperforming, the numbers are just staggering,
but
right?
then they killed the Plaid Plus because there was supposed to be a crazier one, and then Tesla's like, actually, we're just going to call it the Plaid.
Well, that's Tesla. That's Elon.
The numbers are very insane, but
that's
they're
Mr.
not.
Musk.
They're not sub 9 in the quarter, at least from what we've heard. It's not 200 miles an hour top speed. It doesn't have the crazy new battery technology.
Well, let me talk about the other things before we start, or you start tearing into it, that it does have, and that Tesla says is revolutionary. So first of all, we have a range of just under 400 miles, right, which is 390, which is pretty incredible. Now, keep in mind, of course, that Tesla does tend to be a little bit optimistic on those numbers. And according to Tesla, it's got the lowest drag coefficient with wheel spinning, which is hard because oftentimes they measure the drag coefficient without wheel spinning, which creates a lot of turbulent air, but 0.208, which is pretty amazing as well.
Yeah, but then you got to get these wheels that look like lollipops. If you want the cool wheels, you lose almost 40, 50 miles of range.
All right, let's keep going. Musk also said that it's got a new carbon sleeve rotor, and it's very difficult, according to Mr. Musk, to design this to work. And get this, the motors spin up to 2,000 RPMs. Just the centrifugal force of that alone, I would think, would tear a motor apart. 20,000 RPM, sorry, 20,000 RPM. That's crazy, dude. There's very few engines that will go to 10,000 RPM, let alone 20,000 RPM for an electric motor.
I mean, I guess it's cool, but I don't know, Dad. I just feel like, so this is a new Model S, right?
Right.
Model S has been around since 2012. They basically facelifted it. So they facelifted it. They changed the front end a couple years ago, and now this is the next generation of the facelift for both the long range.
Well, maybe that's where your disappointment
and the Plaid
comes in.
version. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the exterior changes. Almost none at all. So if you look at the Plaid version, the only thing you can tell that is different is the long range does not have the little carbon fiber lip on the trunk. That's the only difference I can tell between the Plaid and the standard one. If you look at the interior, they did update the interior for the new Model S's, so it's got a new screen, and it's got the most ridiculous steering wheel I've ever seen.
It's more like an airplane yoke.
Yes, it is a square thing with no top.
Mr.
And they got rid of the gear selector,
Yes.
right? It's going to predict which, I kid you not, it's going to predict which direction you want to go and then select that gear. So if it's going to know when you're going to go into reverse, it's going to know when you want to go into drive. I'd be amazed if that works.
Yeah, so I guess the way it works is, let's say, take a typical situation, you pull into your garage at night and then you come back the next morning, you've got the car hooked up to your key so it unlocks itself or opens itself when you walk up to it. Then you sit down and the car instinctively knows, because it knows that there's no way to go forward, right? Because there's a garage in the way, that you want to go in reverse, so it'll put itself in reverse, and it will learn that this is what it should do when you're at home, and that's how it knows what gear to put you in. That's what they explained.
But what if I'm in my garage and I just want to scoot forward a little bit because I'm trying to get like a bike in?
That is the other question. Now, Mr. Musk said that this car has the ability to learn, and that it will, in essence, anticipate, Tommy, what you want to do. And he added that any function that doesn't need to be there, like the gear selector, they've got rid of in this newest operating system.
It does need to be there. That's a pretty big thing that needs to be there. The gear selector is one of the few things in a car that I think definitely needs to be there.
Now, they also gave it a 17-inch infotainment screen.
That doesn't need to be there.
For
Screw the
a
home
theater experience.
It doesn't need a home theater. It's a car.
And it will play very high-end video games at up to 60 frames per second. It also has, get this, 4 36-watt USB-C chargers, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, not the cable kind, the kind you just lay down, so that you can actually power up to 4 devices, and you can Bluetooth multiple devices, so one person can theoretically control what's playing in the back, whereas one in the new screen in the back, there's a screen in the back, and one can also control what's playing in the front. New sound system designed by Tesla that has a capability of over-the-air updates. So Mr. Musk once again promised that as the sound system gets better, you will get new updates to make it even better. New acoustic glass should make the car even quieter. He said even at 100 miles an hour, which I suspect you'll be driving it on the Autobahn because you won't be doing that here. Legally, at least, it's super quiet. And the interior changes apply to both the long range and the Plaid. And yeah, that steering wheel is funky, but he says once you get used to it, it's natural and cool.
So why do you keep calling Elon Mr. Musk?
That's just, I'm doing the New York Times way. That's how they do it. I've taken that as our new editorial standard.
Interesting. Okay. So look, I mean, it's cool. I'm getting a little tired of, let's just make it faster and give it bigger screens. Like, it's time. Yes, it's been very played out now. It's time to see some, truly new groundbreaking innovation from Tesla. Maybe make a really affordable Tesla. Maybe make something that's, completely out of this world, like an off-roader or a little convertible or something just totally different.
Well, shall we talk about affordability? You want to talk about pricing?
Yeah,
you got it there.
So the Model S Plaid starts at $129,000.
Basically, no, $129,900. Oh, $130,000. Shy of $10 of $30,000.
Yeah, so just under $130,000. So I mean, it's expensive, right? It's I don't know, if you want the ultimate quarter mile vehicle, maybe it isn't that pricey compared to like a Rimac, but it is still a $130,000 car. And
unlike, at least so far, this is what Tesla claims. Unlike many of the other manufacturers, I'm including Ford, I'm including Rivian, I'm including Lucid, you can order it and get it now. So, they said available now, so people are already taking deliveries. They've built a bunch of them. And I went on the website to see if I could actually order one, and I did. It was $100. I didn't put money down because it's now non-refundable. But they said delivery early August if I had ordered it.
Okay.
Which, it's a lot of money, so we weren't going to spend $130,000 on a Plaid. But let's compare it to some of the other competition out there. For some reason, this sedan segment of the market is heating up, this electric car sedan segment, which is weird because everybody else is buying crossovers. But let's talk about the Lucid Air. They're also building a factory down in in Arizona. Their Air First Edition starts at $161,000.
Right.
So it's $30K more, and it's got an estimated range of 503 miles and 1,080 horsepower. So according to Lucid, it's got 60 horsepower more. There's also a Grand Touring that starts at 131 with 517 miles of range and only 800 horsepower. And the Air Touring, not the Grand Touring, is 87,406 miles of range, 620 horsepower, arriving later this year. They said it was going to be available this summer. Last time we did an update. Alas, it is not here.
So the Lucid Air is a new vehicle by a new car manufacturer, although it's one of the few new EV companies that I'm quite confident is going to make it to market from what I've seen and what I've heard. They've got the funding, they've got the factory, they've got a cool vehicle.
They're actually old Tesla engineers.
Yeah, a lot of them are ex-Model S engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So the range, if it could actually do 503, would be amazing. The price is also exorbitant.
Yes.
And from people I've talked to that have ridden in it, it's just also insanely quick. I mean, it's supposed to be mind-bendingly quick. So I don't love the look of it. I think it kind of looks like a shoe. But
they pioneered that kind of where the clamshell opens up like in the trunk, right? And Ford used that same design for the front of their Lightning.
Oh, did Lucid do that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Lucid
in
did the back where the whole thing opens up. Just like the Ford, the entire front opens up. I think they pioneered it.
But I don't know. I just it's another hyper expensive car, and then the Touring, which is $87,000.
And by the way,
it's not going to be available till later.
The Lucid Air, they've got some videos out there of it doing a quarter mile in about 9.7. So I think Tesla stole some of their thunder by going 9.2 in the quarter mile. Now the other car that is available right now is a Porsche Taycan, of course. Comes in various models. The Turbo S starts at 185, and it's got an EPA range of 201 miles, which is much less.
But I think they're being a little bit conservative.
They're probably sandbagging that number,
yes.
Yeah. 750 horsepower. There's also the Taycan Turbo, starts at 159, 212 miles of range. The Taycan 4S, 103, 227, 522 horsepower. And the base rear-wheel drive Taycan, which they just unveiled, 79, 900, 225 miles of range, 402 horsepower. Also available in a wagon called the Taycan Gran Turismo.
So the worst part of this vehicle is I don't think anybody knows the name.
The Taycan is I still have a hard time.
Saying
Taycan, it's Taycan.
I think it's Taycan.
I think it's Taycan. Yeah, it's super. Porsche does that all the time. Cayenne. You know.
They have some funny ones.
Yeah.
Now, this Porsche, though, looks pretty amazing. Also super expensive in the Turbo S model, but supposed to be insanely quick, super well made, apparently. It's also supposed to handle really, really, really well. Hopefully, we're going to be able to drive one here in a few weeks.
Yeah, hopefully we had Alex, our friend, do a video review when it first came out, and he drove it on the Autobahn in Europe, but hopefully we'll get our hands on one in the next week or two, and we can actually kind of figure that ourselves. I mean, look, the rub against electric cars is they're insanely quick in a straight line.
Right.
But they're not so good around, like, let's say, a corner or a racetrack. And the Porsche is supposed to be very good. It's the Porsche of electric vehicles. Having said that, Mr. Musk said that the new Plaid has, you don't like that, huh? Is it weird?
It's a little weird.
Seems kind of old, doesn't it? Old school.
Well, it's weird because he's younger than you.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
Well, you're Mr. Micah too.
Well, I hate that. I don't want to be known as Mr. Micah.
All right. Well, it does have torque vectoring.
Right.
Which supposedly would make, torque vectoring basically means that the outside wheel or the inside wheel can spin at different rates. So when you're going around a corner and let's say you're going left, you want the outside wheel actually, spinning quicker or getting power more. So it helps you carve a corner.
That's right. Now, the Porsche is also available as a wagon called the Cross Turismo.
Yes.
Which looks
kind
brilliant.
of an off-roader.
Yeah, well.
Off-roader-ish. I think 6 inches of ground clearance is not going to
it's like 6
take
inches
on Hell's Revenge,
yeah.
but it's more or less kind of adventure-y.
So the Model S Plaid deliveries, as we mentioned, are beginning now. You can order one now as well.
Yep.
And Elon is saying he expects Tesla to build 1,000 Plaids per week by this fall.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? So a part of me is, really intrigued and tempted. If we had that kind of a budget, I would love to get the vehicle and, have the king of the hill, fastest production car ever and see if these numbers, actually, are real, right? Do some real world measuring. The biggest problem, of course, is that by the time, we get on the list and get the vehicle a lot of YouTubers and probably media publications will have gotten their hands on it, and it'll be kind of old news by then. But today, it's still pretty exciting news, Tommy. And you know, I tend to be skeptical as a journalist. So, you know, I think the best example of that is this entire rush toward electric trucks. There's been so much hype and so much excitement around electric trucks. Yet, if you were to try to buy one right now, you couldn't.
Right, that's true.
Good luck, you know.
Yep.
I was there, it was almost 3 years ago when Rivian unveiled theirs at the LA Auto Show, and here we are still waiting for it to actually come off the assembly line. So I tend to take these numbers and these facts with a bit of, you know, grain of salt. But I think with Tesla, they have a proven track record. They have done this before. So I'm going to say, you know, for right now, until we get our hands on one, pretty astounding. And like I say, I think the biggest problem is if it had, like you said, if it had been a different vehicle.
Right.
I'd call it the model, I don't know, triple S.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to go to double S because that's a whole new thing, but just the triple S, right?
Okay.
Then, you know, and made it look different, then I think people would have been a lot more excited by it. Once again, the problem with it is it looks, like you said, like a regular you know, Model S, and let's say that you've got the Plaid, you want to let people know that you've got the fastest, most powerful 1,000 horsepower vehicle, and yet, you know, sitting next to a supercharger, the only way you'll be able to tell really is by looking at the steering wheel.
Or no, not even the steering wheel. Because
or the lack thereof.
Well, no, you can get the standard Model S with the steering wheel too now.
With
the yoke.
With the yoke?
Yeah, so, I mean, the only way to tell would be to talk to the owner or look for the little lip spoiler.
Oh, and they did also increase the charge rate, by the way, so now it charges quicker.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good thing. It's an incremental kind of improvement on the S, I think. I'm just getting a little tired of let's see if we can make a quicker one.
The problem is you're running into physics, right?
Right, and I mean, at some point, it's like you're battling over 0.1s of a second in the quarter, and that's just, it becomes less fun as a car enthusiast.
Point, there's only so much traction and adhesion you have, so it's not about horsepower. It then becomes about, you know, the physics of going any quicker. And you're right, you're going to be arguing about tenths of a second or a hundredth of a second.
Hundredths of a second, yeah.
Which becomes pretty boring, I think.
Yeah. Well, guys, let us know what you think in the comment section below.
And you know what people are saying?
What?
That's why the Roadster has rockets.
There you go. We'll see you guys next time here on the Fast Lane Car.
Yeah, check out TFLcar.com for more news, views, and of course, Tommy,
real world reviews.
See you guys next time. Ciao.